Okay, so trip to Kyoto. Well, very luckily, the night before, one of the guys at the party at the izakaya had given me discount tickets for the Kyoto trip, because there are places where you can get discount tickets, but for me, they're actually far enough away that the train fare to get to the discount ticket shop is more than I would save by getting the discount tickets. So I didn't really bother. But this guy had bought these for a friend who had already bought their own, and he's like, "Oh, I have extra tickets." And so he gave them to me, and of course expected me to pay him back for them, which I did. And so that was lucky. And so we met up at the station. There were a lot of the new people there, and quite a few people who hadn't come to the izakaya party before. So I got to meet even more and interact with even more new people. A lot of whom were very cool. I mean, I really like a lot of these people. They were fun, and many of them were quite nerdy, and a good sense of humor, and it was great. And so we had the long train trip to Kyoto. Oh, that took forever. And then we had a shorter train trip in Kyoto to get to the museum. But despite this, we still arrived at the museum at about 3. Excuse me. And we weren't planning to go in until about 4, because it was extremely crowded during most of the day, because there's a big exhibit of a major painter, and it's not like a continuous thing. But we'd been told that 4 o'clock is usually the best time to come, or the teacher had been told that when he asked, because it's not so crowded then. So we arrived at 3, and then we went to a nearby Buddhist temple and looked at some statues there. And that was fun. There were some good statues. We had a few more of my favorites, Agyo and Ungyo. Those guys are always fun. They're just these big, muscly men, and they're like, the muscles are really, really detailed. I'm like, wow. But, so we did that, and then we went to the museum. Had a few mishaps there, mostly to do with some complications getting in, and at some point it occurred to them that we could go in as a group and save money that way, and but there were some complications to that. It took a while. But anyway, we ultimately went in, and well, the way the room was arranged, or the way the exhibit was arranged, is it's kind of a loop, and you get to see different parts of the guy's career and some different styles that he went to. And so you got this loop, and I'm going, okay, 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 alright, okay. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, wow, whoa, oh, this is amazing. Oh, why didn't they devote the rest of the exhibit to this? Come on. And then we left. The radical transition, I should mention, is where he switched from color painting on a gold background to sumie, which is just straight black ink on a regular background, on a not uncolored background. I shouldn't say white. It's the paper's not really up to what I would call white, but that's just paper quality, not intentional. And the sumie is better. It's just better. The color painting is just nothing fancy. It's depictions of people or famous events that either actually happened or are part of Buddhist mythologies, and there was nothing special. They were just, kind of generic pictures and the people didn't really look much like people. And they were just kind of dull. The sumie, however, as I mentioned in a previous thing, one of the kind of the big tenets of sumie is not dwelling so much on individual detail as kind of creating the feel of a landscape or an image. And I'm just, the style in general is great, and this in particular was really, really good. Well, the landscapes weren't as amazing as some landscapes I've seen, but they were still good landscapes. And there were some with monkeys that were, even though they don't really look that much like monkeys, they're still beautiful to look at. And he did some he did some birds, and the birds were beautiful. The crows in particular, those were amazing. Yeah, crows done with pure black ink. That must be so hard. But like the entire last room, though, was devoted to pictures he'd done of pine trees in mist, and it was stunning. I mean, these are pictures, though. If you come up close to them and look at them, they don't look anything like trees of any kind. But if you stand back a bit, it really does look like you're just kind of overlooking this grand forest, and there's, you know, mist swirling over it, and you can't make out a lot of details, and it's just stunning. Oh. And then after that, we went outside and just kind of hung around the museum grounds because some people hadn't finished yet. And I got to talk and hang out with the new people quite a bit. And that was fun. And then we went off to have dinner together. We split into two groups because there was like one person who was deeply, deeply craving Thai food, and then and then some people went off with them, and then the rest of us were like, Thai food not really sounding good to me right now. So we just kind of went on, and we're gonna go to the first restaurant we see that we like. We ended up at a Chinese restaurant where I had, of all things, ramen. I could have ramen anywhere, but it was cheap and it looked tasty, and it was like there were three things on the menu I was considering. The ramen looked both tasty and cheap among them, so I went with that. Well, and then after that, the conversation strayed, of all things, to karaoke, which I love. And how some of the people who weren't really big on drinking had, instead of going to that izakaya, gone to karaoke. And I'm not sure if, had I known of this and been given the option beforehand, I would have chosen to do that. Because while I do love karaoke, I'm also trying to get involved in social events and interact with people more. And for that purpose, the izakaya party was a lot better. I think I may have had more fun ultimately with the karaoke, but I'm not sure. However, as we continued on this line of conversation, the girl across from me said that she hadn't done karaoke yet. She's only been in Japan 3 weeks. In fact, I was the only person in this group who had been in Japan longer than 3 weeks. So I was kind of the experienced person, but she hadn't done karaoke yet, and she wanted to, and she's apparently felt like people kept going but not inviting her, and I'm like, okay, right now, karaoke, okay, as soon as we're done eating, karaoke, you, me, and anyone else who wants to go. Ultimately, no one else wanted to go, but she was actually willing to do karaoke with just 2 people. So we did that, not all night, we just did that for a couple of hours. And it really didn't feel like enough. It's like, what, 2 hours is over already? I had so much other stuff I wanted to do. But it was still fun. And so I still got to do some karaoke this weekend. And I'm running out of time, and this is actually going to end up a three-parter, because I still got to talk about last week.